Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keeping It Real with America's Supermom. I am excited to have my next guest here with me. I have Val, and we have just recently collaborated on a project about loving you and loving your business. And I'm excited to have her here today. It is Women's History Month. And so I'm loving all these women that are pouring out their wisdom and insights so that we can be better in business and in our personal life. So we're going to get into some great conversation, but I first want to give Val the opportunity to introduce herself.
Gosh, Lachelle, it's such a pleasure to be here with you. Just love hanging around with you and collaborating like this. So
Yeah.
I'm Val Low. Yes, I'm Val Low. And Lachelle, I work with entrepreneurs to help them get out there and make a bigger impact and bigger revenue in the world. And a little bit of my back history, I started as a professional organizer, found that business owners really, once I got their offices like just really dialed in and organized, they didn't often stay that way. And so I went down that rabbit trail of how do I keep them on track? How do I keep myself on track? Productivity, mindset, all those things. Got some coaching certifications and a bunch of other stuff I've done. Um, and then I got to where I am now with, like I said, working with entrepreneurs to help them clarify their message and their brand. And the other thing I'm doing right now is I call it Map It. I'm a Map It master, helping
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs take their ideas out of their head, put them on paper so that they've got a nice, colorful, iconed plan for their year that they can just follow throughout the year. So, got a lot of things I've done and working on, and just such a pleasure to be here.
I am so excited. Well, I did not know that you were an organizer, professional organizer. So
Mhm,
that's amazing because
mhm.
I am just like the total opposite of organized when it comes to my office and everything. But so talk to us about, what are some things that come up with disorganization that kind of shows up in our business? Because I think some people think, oh, I can function in a mess. I may know exactly where that red piece of paper is on top of that pile of books that's in the middle of my
Mhm.
floor or whatever. But talk to us about the benefits of being able to be organized, in our business, because I think it's like somebody who functions with not really being able to see well. Then they go to the eye doctor and they're like, oh my goodness, I can see everything. They didn't
Right,
even know they couldn't see, right?
right, right. Well, I just have to preface this with one of my superpower. One of my superpowers is organizing. Like I go
Hmm.
into an office. If I came to your place, Michelle, I'd come in. I go, oh, what a beautiful place. And if we just did this, this, and this, and this, it'd be more efficient for you, and you'd work better. You feel calmer. So that's what it's all about: is putting things in places. I think the biggest thing is to find a home for everything, and that's really hard.
Hmm.
Us entrepreneurs, we sometimes are all over the place. But
Hmm.
finding a place for your things so you know where they are. Like you're talking about the red piece of paper, but what if you had a place for red pieces of paper? Like one
Hmm.
little file folder or a box or somewhere that you had those in one place and your pens and pencils were in another place, and just everything's in its place,
Hmm.
because that helps us to be more efficient, more productive. But the
Hmm.
biggest thing is, I find when we've got piles around us, and some people feel comfortable with piles, but generally speaking, if we got piles around us, it's like they're calling to us. Oh, I'm over here. Come and tend to me. Oh, I'm over here. Come and tend to me. But if we've got everything, it doesn't have to be perfect either. And it needs to be
Hmm.
organized for you. But if we got things in places that are organized for you, for instance, for me, I've moved my desk around, and I always had this here, my pens here, my stapler, my everything was just right here. And I moved a
Hmm.
few things around. So now when I go to get that, it's moved somewhere else. But we get into those habits too. When they're in a
Hmm.
good place, we get into those habits. If we put them back when we're done with them, here's another thing. It's easy just to put something down where you actually are, but it takes you almost as much time to put it where it belongs. So why not just
So true.
put it where it belongs rather than putting it where you are?
So true. Yeah. And I mean, I do have some things that I think I'm really organized about, like
Mhm.
tools, scissors, and hole punchers, and some of those things. And I am such a stickler. Like if it's in my office and my kids use it, it's like put it back, and I have designated areas for things. But I think I love that whole thing about everything just having a home, because I have that mindset for some things, and for other things it's like, paper. I write on envelopes. I write on scrap paper, everything. And then I don't like to throw stuff away.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm a hoarder, but I have these ideas that I write on random stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I have notebooks, right? So it's just,
Yeah.
I digress.
Okay. I love that though, because you can take those pieces of paper, envelopes, whatever, and staple them into a workbook, like a scribble or a
Hmm.
book. Just staple them in there and they're all in one place. It doesn't matter how they look, how big and fat that folder, that book
Hmm.
is, but they're all in one place. And our ideas, we have so many ideas as
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. So just write them in that book and they're all there and you know that they're in that special place.
That's a good idea. Yeah. So this is good. I'm getting some more insight. It's so funny. I was in an organizing room today on Clubhouse, and it's a friend of mine. We actually went to high school together. Well, we found out we went to the same college later on, but she's an organizer. So I said, I feel like you're my mom, because the more times I hear it, maybe it's going to stick. I think back to my mom saying, "How many times do I have to tell you to pick this up or clean your room?" So when she keeps telling me these organizing things, I'm thinking one day it's going to stick. I'm just going to wake up and have that mindset. So this is good. So, and then I hear it tonight. So this is great. So, I love the thing about the mind mapping, because see, I think a lot of people don't really know how to organize their thoughts or
Mhm.
ideas. They could be like myself, they're on paper, written down, but where is the place that you can kind of create a visual for that? So when you say mind mapping, explain to us how that works and how you got into that.
Oh gosh, that's a fun story. I actually calling it Map It.
Okay.
And a friend has helped me coin that I'm a Map It master. So
Okay.
I'm sticking to that. I'm a Map It master,
Mhm.
helping entrepreneurs, like you say, take those thoughts out of their head and put them onto paper.
Mhm.
And to be honest, Lachelle, I've been doing business and I'm liking what I'm doing, but I just knew that there was just something sort of missing in the piece into
Mhm.
this puzzle, this great big puzzle that I have that I'm putting together. And I heard this, add your talents. And I thought, oh, that really makes sense because I'm very, very creative and I haven't been bringing a lot of creativity into my business.
Mhm.
And so and I'm being really honest here, I took a doodle course and I laughed and I laughed and
Mm.
I'm taking a doodle course and this is about business and I laughed and laughed and laughed. But it's been the best thing because I found out I'm pretty good at it.
Mm.
And with my organizing and my coaching and financial back, everything that I have, I can take all of those things when I'm talking, for instance, with you, for instance, if we did a map together, I'd be listening to all those things and I'm thinking, well, what about this piece over here about her business? And what about this piece? I'm going to ask her about that. But we take all those pieces and we put them onto one piece of paper. And can I give you a visual here
Yeah.
in StreamYard?
So I think I can share screen.
Oh, I'll just show it in
Oh,
the
okay.
video here.
That's fine.
Yes. Just show what I'm up to. And then people get an idea. But we take all those ideas and we put them onto one piece of paper and put them, kind of organize them so that
Mhm.
it's your business. It's one
Okay.
year. And then you could just put it on the wall or wherever you want to put it, someplace that you can see it often. Then that reminds us of what we really want to do for that year. And when we're going around and our head's getting all full of all those kind of thoughts and we're wondering, what do I do now? And where am I going? You look at your map and you go, oh, yes, this is what I'm doing. And it just helps to
Mhm.
bring you back on path. So I'm I just quickly share that this is a workshop that I do with people. And I do this individually too. But
Wow.
just a map. And this is just one of the ones I do. Just taking your ideas, putting them onto one piece of paper with some color and a little bit of action steps.
Mhm.
And it's really quite powerful. And I just want to back up a little bit too that when we take those thoughts and we actually write them down on a piece of paper,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like a therapeutic thing going on. You take them out of your brain, put them on the paper, and then this is really funny. Your brain can see those thoughts. It's just kind of really a weird thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around, is that we're taking those thoughts, putting them on paper, then our brain can see those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And then it helps us to actually go after those goals we have. We're looking at those goals and that plan we have, then it just keeps us on track and reminds us that that's what I really want to do. That's what I really want to do. And then it starts to ingrain in our mind, because you probably know that whatever we tell ourselves is what we're going to get. So if we're always talking about all that stuff over there that's bugging me and this is wrong and that's wrong, that's the thoughts your brain's going to give you, is all of those. You're going to say, why does it happen to me? And the brain's going to say, well, it's because of all of these things that you've been thinking about. You told me.
So true.
So when you start thinking about the positive things, the goals that you want to, I've got this goal and I'm going to reach that goal. And here's the things I need to do that. And you just say, I can do this. And wasn't it going to be great when I get here? And just all of those thoughts that actually ingrain in your mind the things that you really want to happen. And then our brain starts to say, so you say, well, what do I do now? And your brain will say, well, this is where you want to go. And maybe here's something, it's
Mm-hmm.
just amazing how a thought can go that far to either accomplishing or not accomplishing some of our goals.
I love that because, I was listening, I've been reading a lot of books on mindset, your brain, and how we see things in pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes a lot of sense that, we would create this map, and then you have people that have vision boards and things like that. So when you mind map, what type of things, like I saw that you had like the goal of the income that the person had,
Mm-hmm.
and you made this road, symbolic or path for that.
Mm-hmm.
What type of things are in the path? Is that like the different parts of your business? Like, I don't know, customer journey or things like that? What things go into the map?
In this particular Mappet,
Mm-hmm.
this is a annual plan. So there's Q1, 2, 3, and 4 goals, and then there's a space where you can put like a few action steps you're going to take. And
Mm-hmm.
then along that path, you can put little icons. For instance, on this particular one, this person wants to do later on in the year some joint ventures.
Mm.
So she's got on one side of the joint venture Q3 goal is
Mm-hmm.
this funnel, this water flowing in like a stream, which is her downstream. So that's flowing into her, all those people that she's working with. And
Mm-hmm.
then on the other side is the same kind of funnel flowing into her, which is her upstream, which is people that she's reaching to, joint venture partners and people like that. So she's got these icons that actually are pictures you can have in your mind about
Mm.
some of the goals you're wanting to reach.
Love that. Now, so what are some things that you find with business owners as we think about, it's a pandemic, people are trying to work their way through it. What are some things that we're getting wrong without having our goals in front of us? What are some of the problems with that?
Some of the problems, we're inefficient. We, uh,
Mm-hmm.
we, we don't know the direction, the next step we're going to take. We've got all these things coming in to our business, emails, people calling us. We aren't clear on the goals we have. When we're not clear on the goals we have, then we don't know where to say no and where to say yes. I mean, it's even
Mm-hmm.
that simple. Um, it's our energy levels. I mean, when we're not clear on something, then all of those things, like I said, come in and it just depletes our energy. And just
Mm-hmm.
there's so many things. Um, even in our offices, if we're not clear on what our goal is, then we're probably piling things up because we don't know what direction we're going. And it just makes so much sense to be clear. Even, I'll give you a little story as well.
Mm-hmm.
I have another map that I did with a contractor that
Mm-hmm.
I work with regularly here in the community I am, and we're doing some
Mm-hmm.
marketing stuff together. And last year, I took him through this uh, strategy worksheet. And you can put your big goal for the year, then goals that will help you get there, and then you can break it down into the quarterly, one,
Mhm.
two, three, 4 quarters, and each one of those particular um, projects or activities you can do to get to your bigger goal. All he did was put his big goal at the top in the big. I have a big cloud in that particular template. Put his goal there and three things that would help him get there, and that's all he did. And this year, when we went back and did the same worksheet, started talking about, oh, I'd like to do this and this, but he looked at his other and went, oh, I did that, I did that, and I did that. Even having that intention, writing it down, having that intention, it's just so powerful.
Mhm. I totally get that because I think, you know, we can have so many things that we want to do just in a day. And if we don't have intention,
Mm-hmm.
it's just crazy how the time just gets away from you.
Mm-hmm.
I was just talking earlier. I had one of my daughters, she woke up and she wasn't feeling well, so it ended up she's 10. It was a day off for her for school. But, just thinking about, how that affects me and my day. And when you start out with, intention, and knowing what it is that you want to accomplish, you just have a better mindset about the uncontrollables, the things that pop up for you that may be outside of your control,
Mm-hmm.
because you know in the long run where you're headed. And
Mm-hmm.
so you can kind of navigate through some of these things that pop up just without being planned.
Exactly. And I love that you brought intention in
Hmm.
because, and obviously, I'm presuming, but I think I'm pretty accurate that family is really important to you.
Hmm.
And so if you have that intention that family is important, then you're going to have that time. You're going to maybe add a little buffer time into your day for those particular things that may or may not happen.
Hmm.
Um, but having that intention is so important. It really
Hmm.
is. Yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, I don't see my kids that often, but if they call me and I can answer that call, I do.
Hmm.
I just do because they're so important to me.
Yeah. Now, so for people who, let's just say we are just not on the right tracks when it comes to, our business and really having those visuals together,
Hmm. Hmm.
what is the first place to get started? Because I think a lot of times we can really pinpoint how we're not working up to our potential, or we're not doing it right or more efficiently. We're having some struggles in these areas, but what is the first thing that we could do that's easy for us to kind of get more confidence rather than thinking that we have to do everything at one time?
Yeah, and I think the first thing is just go easy on yourself. I mean,
Hmm.
just be kind to self, just like you and I did that event together. Be
Hmm.
kind, love yourself, love your business, and be kind. Be kind to yourself. And I know you speak on that quite often. The first thing I would suggest, because a lot of times entrepreneurs, like I said, we have all those thoughts and things going around our head and wondering what to do next, is get a piece of paper and make 3 columns. And the first column you're going to do now.
Hmm.
The next column is going to be next.
Hmm.
And the third column is going to be beyond, or there's lots of different words you can use.
Hmm.
And I'll explain. So you're going to take all these thoughts and you go, okay, what do I need to do now? And you put those thoughts into that column.
Hmm.
And then the second column is, okay, I really should's a good word, should do this. And the third column could be could. So you're taking all those thoughts and you're going, okay, I need to do this. It has to be done now. I should do this. I could do this, and put them into those different columns. And
Hmm.
it kind of gives you what, again, is really important. And then when you have the really important column, you can go, okay, I need to do one, two, three. These are my top 3 things I need to do. And then you can just go after them. And then when you're thinking, oh, why am I not getting stuff done? Well, here's another little story. I shared this with a friend of mine, and she called me one day so excited. She says, I know why I'm not getting anything done. I'm in the could column when I should be in the need to column. She said, like,
Hmm.
my insurance needs to be paid today, otherwise it expires tomorrow. so,
Right.
so it's just making your mind just think about things like that. And so
Mhm.
once you take all of those things and you put them on this piece of paper, then you can take another piece of paper, like I'd mentioned with the cloud, that gives you that great big idea, like goal for the year, and break that
Mhm.
down into three bigger goals that would help you to get there. And then you can start putting them, into a little bit more structured sheet. And it doesn't have to be fancy, and it doesn't have to
Mhm.
be great big long spreadsheets and manuals and things. It's just something that's going to keep you on track. So that's where I would start.
I love that. I think that is really the biggest challenge for a lot of people is capturing those things on paper.
Hmm.
But when we don't really think through or write down some of these thoughts, they just run rampant, and
Hmm.
we put unrealistic expectations. I don't
Hmm.
know, a lot of people talk about building business, but if you compare it to a farmer, you're not going to go plant all your seeds and think the harvest is tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's a
Yeah,
process.
exactly. Exactly.
And I think, when we put things on paper, we're able to realistically see some of these limitations or some of the necessary steps and processes that have to take place
Hmm.
before we can reap some of the benefits that we're thinking about. So I
Yeah.
love that whole idea about writing that down.
Hmm.
So, this has been great. I tell you, I could go on forever. And I know that, when we're talking about organization and these type of things, it's like, we can do baby steps to get to that point, because I know for a lot of us, we can get ourselves into a lot of overwhelm. So, talk to us about, what kind of challenge would you think would be appropriate? It is Women's History Month, in terms of us, taking back, our ability to be organized and not, being a victim of some of the things that could happen, whether it's our children or, changes of our type of career that we're doing because of the pandemic or whatever. What type of challenge or thought that you would like to leave with us today as we, conclude this interview?
Yeah, and Lachelle, I just like to bring up that I think about this, especially on a day like this, or when we're talking about women.
Mm-hmm.
I just really think about those women that stood up for us so that we could be considered people. And in
Mm-hmm.
Canada, I know we're considered people now, but we weren't at one time. As women, we were not.
Mm-hmm.
And those women stood up, and they went through a lot of challenges. Like they were treated very, very, very poorly, but they
Mm-hmm.
stood up, and eventually we have that now. We have it written into our legislation that we are people as
Mm-hmm.
women. And the challenge I would give to women is just stand up for what is right.
Mm-hmm.
Be clear on your intentions. Be clear in those intentions. And then, like I'd mentioned before, we talk about love on yourself, because
Mm-hmm.
when you do those kinds of things, and then just let that passion, what you're created here to do, let that just bubble up, because that's going to help you keep on track. It's going to keep you um, looking at and doing those things that are important for you as well. So
Love that.
hope
That
that.
was amazing advice. I love that.
Mm.
So, what is the best way for the audience to get a hold of you?
Oh, I love hanging out on LinkedIn.
Mm.
Val
Mm-hmm.
Val Low in LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that's the best place to start. Or
Awesome.
you could hop up over to my website, vallow.me.
Okay.
A couple of places. Mhm.
Awesome. Well, this has just been great, Val, and I have just really enjoyed this conversation. A lot of ahas, at least in my own life, of ways that I can, you know, just keep chipping away at that
Mhm.
organization. And it's so funny because I had the fortune of being with Rachel Ray. I don't know if you're familiar with her.
Oh yes. Mhm.
I was on her show, and we were part of a national organization campaign. So it was a 30-day uh, organization challenge that we had. Every day we had to do something for like 10 minutes. And so we had to make a video of it, and we could get the whole family involved. But and it was with Peter Walsh. He's also an organizer.
Yes. Yes.
And, it's funny. And I'm like, here I am doing this, and then I'm still not organized. But, it's a work in progress. And I
Mm-hmm.
think one of the things that I was able to identify, though, was, when you have other people, that is also something to take in consideration because although I may have things, like I said, in my office, there's a home for certain things that when my kids come and get it, they know where it is. I know where it is.
Mm-hmm.
But, when you're dealing with other people's things, it's like they have their own system. So it's like chaos around here sometimes. Sometimes you got
Yeah.
10 different systems, right? You go
Yeah.
in rooms and it's like, this doesn't even make sense to be here, but for them it makes sense. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things you learn when you're sharing a house with a lot of people.
Yes. I love to come visit you and see how you do that, how you
Oh yeah,
live with that many people.
well, I'm gonna give you first some rose-colored glasses because I've learned to just keep those on for a lot of times.
Yes.
Okay, you
Yes.
go in a room, it's spick and span. You go use the restroom and maybe take a phone call. You come back and it's like a tornado went through there. Okay, so you just never know. So, but this has really been fun, and I appreciate you and your time, and I look forward to more collaborations.
Mhm. Me too. Yes. That was
Awesome.
lots of fun.
Well, we want to thank you guys so much for joining us today. If you have any questions, reach out to Val on LinkedIn or on our website, vallow.me. Or you can put those questions in the comments. We would love to hear your input, insights, different things that you could share when it comes to mapping out things just for your business or organization. That is really a fun topic for me because I'm a work in progress. So, thank you guys so much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you all on the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye bye.